Pretty sure Mammaru will be going big fire. I don't recall what Mars will be doing, but we will find out shortly. And indeed, Mammaru grabbing the mushroom in 1-1, as does Mars. And they will head off into the 1-1 underground. You want to get through here cleanly with a 376 would be optimal for the mushroom strategy. Mars gets a 375. Mammaru is going to have to wait a little bit so he avoids a 6 on the timer, and he does. And Mars also gets a 365. You want to avoid that 366 because that 6 in the ones digit will give you 6 fireworks, and that fireworks animation will cost you around 3 seconds for 6 fireworks. If you get a 3 in the ones digit of the timer, you'll get 3 fireworks. That'll cost you about 1.5 seconds. And also, if you get a 1, you'll get a firework, but that doesn't cost you any time. So these runners tied as they go into 1-2, getting the same frame rule in 1-1. So beautiful sync here between them. And they come to this Goomba section and essentially tied again. This is perfectly in sync between these two. So we will just have to wait until we get to 1-3, and then probably 1-4 might be our first chance at separating these two. I mean, they're synced to the T right here. 1-3 is a straightforward level. If you've grabbed power-ups in 1-1 and 1-2, you're just simple platforming. So 1-4, it'll really come down to the Bowser kill, where we might start to see some separation between these two runners. So yeah, I think right now, perfectly in sync, and both these runners feel pretty comfortable, and I'm not sure if either of these runners are going to be aware of where the other runner is, but we'll just have to wait and see. But right now, perfectly in sync through 1-3. Obviously it looked like Mammaru was a little bit behind Mars, but because of the frame rule system, you'll see these runners will actually start the level at the same time. So they may be a frame rule off. It's hard to tell if Mammaru lost the frame rule there or not, but they definitely started the level. Oh, and Mammaru takes a hit on the fire bar there. So that will give Mars the early advantage. And Mars with a nice Bowser kill at 261, and Mammaru takes a death. Bowser fooled him. He thought he could go over Bowser, and then Bowser jumped at the last second, and Mammaru not only losing his power-up, but taking a death here. He's going to power back up and grab the mushroom here in 1-4. So Mars with an early lead of about a full level because Mammaru took that death at the very end of 1-4. He does lose his power-up again, so maybe some early nerves for Mammaru, but this is still very, very early in the race. There's still opportunities to make up time, especially if Mars has some slip-ups. But right now, Mars clean through 2-1 with the optimal 3:45 on the timer there. So that is the perfect time you can get in 2-1. Thankfully, in 2-1, there are a ton of power-ups you can get. So Mammaru grabbing the first power-up and also will grab the second power-up here to return to his big fire state. And he should be hopefully comfortable back to big fire. Now, you got a couple Piranha Plant snipes here. Very nicely done. As Mars heads into the water section, our first water level, 2-2. There's a couple tight bottlenecks right there, but no problem for Mars. He snipes that blooper out of the way. And meanwhile, Mammaru completing at 2-1. And Mars coming up to another bottleneck section right up here, but it looks pretty clean for him. And now he just has to deal with the coral right here, and no problem. And a perfect 316 for Mars in the swimming section. Now it's Mammaru's turn to see if he can match that and not lose time in 2-2 relative to Mars. So we'll see how Mammaru does handling this first bottleneck right here. Perfectly done there. No blooper issues or anything like that. A little bit of a left press there. Nicely done to keep his power up instead of risking losing the power up, especially at this point with already having lost the power up. Mars actually also had to slow down in 2-3 a little bit there for a bad cheap. So both of these runners with good awareness to use the left button or releasing the B button to do just a little bit of slowdown to avoid taking a hit. Mars still got the 240 despite that slowdown, so I think he's still going to get the optimal frame rule. 2-3 has a pretty lenient frame rule. So frame rule, of course, is a unit of 0.35 seconds. And the game checks if Mario completes a level every 21 frames or every 0.35 seconds. So as long as you finish the level within that same 21 frame or 0.35 second window, it's like you didn't lose time at all. So even though Mars did a little bit of a slowdown, the game still had to wait to check to see if the level ended anyway, so Mars didn't actually lose any time. So a very clean 260 for Mars in 2-4. Mammaru with the perfect 240 in 2-3. And Mars is heading into 3-1, about one level ahead. I say about because these levels are all of different lengths. But right now, with that late death in 1-4 for Mammaru, it's about a one level lead, give or take a little bit. 3-1 is not too difficult of a level. There is this little tricky stairs part at the end where you shoot this Koopa, and Mars actually chooses to shoot the second Koopa as well. There's also another strategy where you can do kind of like a turn jump and jump over that Koopa. Both of those strategies work perfectly fine and both give you the optimal timer, 347 on the timer there for Mars. So now it's Mammaru's turn to see if he can match what Mars has done. Mars meanwhile is in 3-2. It's mostly a straightforward level. You do have to duck jump right there where he did. You don't technically have to, but it makes it a lot more comfortable. And then if you shoot these Koopas out of the way here, which Mars has chosen not to do, you can despawn this final Goomba here and make that jump a little bit easier. Mars actually no problem there on the jump, and Mammaru getting a 347 in 3-1. So keeping pace with Mars ever since he's returned to his big fire state. Matching Mars level for level, but unfortunately for Mammaru, one level behind because of that death in 1-4. I'm curious to see, Mars is on a great pace here, so I'm curious to see if he's on his spreadsheet and if he'll go for a fast 3-4. Maybe he'll be on a bad frame rule. Maybe he'll just choose to play it safe anyway, or maybe he will go for a fast 3-4. So it's just up to Mars, whatever he wants to do here. Mammaru clearing out a bunch of enemies and a nice 245 on the timer in 3-2. So Mars, oh, he takes a hit to the Podoboo. It was a very high Podoboo. I'm not sure if he knew it was going to be high or not. It looked like he might have known it was going to be high, and he just jumped a little bit early. So now he's going to play safe strategies because he doesn't know this Podoboo pattern. He did grab that mushroom there and completes 3-4 with a 256. And you see that axe grab. It is faster to kill Bowser with fire because you don't have to wait for the bridge to collapse, then Bowser to fall in the lava. All of that animation costs around 3 seconds versus a fire kill. So Mars had to wait for that, so that'll cost him a few seconds as well, and he will need to grab another power-up to return to Fire Mario state. I'm guessing he's going to do that in 4-2. This second power-up in 4-1 is pretty slow, and also with the Spinies being thrown around everywhere, it's pretty treacherous. So yeah, he does skip that power-up, and Mammaru will gain a little bit of time in 3-4 with a 258 fire kill. So I think Mars had a 256 axe grab and also some animation time of losing the power-up and gaining the power-up. So Mammaru closing the gap just a little bit. Mars going to grab probably this first power-up here in 4-2. I think that's the easiest. We'll see what he does. There are many options for getting your power-up, and it's all about whatever you're comfortable with. So Mars indeed grabs that first power-up in 4-2. A nice buffer jump. That was really nicely done to not waste too much time. So you can tell Mars has practiced that specific power-up grab. That was really nicely done. So what you can do there is if you release A before you touch the power-up and then you repress A, you can buffer a jump there for when the power-up animation ends, and that's exactly what Mars did. So really nicely done by Mars. So looking over here in chat, Clown is asking if Mammaru took a death. Yes, he took a death at the end of 1-4, so that is the reason for the lead right now for Mars. But Mammaru making his way through 4-2, both of these runners choosing the bottom route, and both of these runners nicely through 4-2. Mars did perfectly fine there, and he's in 4-3. Going for the Sky Boots, it doesn't look like he got it, so Mars didn't get the optimal 4-3 frame rule. But, you know, it's a pretty tough frame rule to get. It is only a 0.35 second save. So not too much of a time loss there for Mars. We'll see if Mammaru ends up getting the optimal frame rule here as well. Meanwhile, Mars in 4-4 with a maze level. But the runners know where they're going to go in this maze. Mars is going to have to duck underneath this fire bar. Nicely done. And Mammaru with the perfect 261 and the Sky Boots, so he will gain 0.35 seconds versus Mars in that level. And Mars with an awesome 4-4 Bowser kill, a 348 on the timer. 4-4 Bowser is one of the harder Bowsers in the game. He did get a forward Bowser, so that actually made it a little bit easier. The really fully forward Bowser in 4-4 is one runners appreciate, or the fully backward Bowser is one runners appreciate. Mars got the fully forward and was able to get a really nice Bowser kill there. So beautifully done as he heads into World 5. Now we'll see what happens for Mammaru. a nice 347. Oh, I spoke too soon. He got a 346. He just missed the axe grab there. So now both runners into World 5. Mars heading into 5-2. 5-1 is the calm before the storm in World 5. 5-2 is where the intensity really ramps up. You might get an early bullet bill shot here. I think Mars is going to play it safe. Yes, he did get a bullet bill shot, so smart decision to play it safe there from Mars. And then 5-3, there's going to be lots of bullet bills in a what's going to be essentially a random pattern to these guys because both of them have had power-up losses and even a death for Mammaru. So they're going to be playing 5-3, reacting to random bills. And then 5-4 also will have the fire bars where you might have to set up the good fire bars, a tough Bowser kill at the end. There's some Potaboos that can be pretty mean and nasty. Whew! Mammaru challenging that first cannon. It did shoot, but he was still able to get by it. That was a little scary. Mars, meanwhile, into 5-3. Again, these bullet bills are going to be essentially random to him, so we'll see if he reacts to everything correctly. That bullet bill was just high enough that he didn't have to duck or anything. And he gets a relatively comfortable pattern, so clean through 5-3 for Mars. We'll see if Mammaru also goes clean through 5-3. Mars into 5-4. This is a repeat of 2-4, but now you've got extra fire bars, extra Potaboos, and you're going to want to set up Mars here. This hesitation under the coin block is to set up good fire bars through this tunnel so he doesn't have to slow down. Mammaru, meanwhile, navigating 5-3. So far, no bad bills for him. Mars a little bonk, and Mammaru a little bonk. Oh, Mars just avoiding the fire flame there. He actually went through the sprite of the fire, but the hitboxes on that fire are kind of wonky. The hitbox is to the front of that flame, and the back of the flame doesn't actually have a hitbox. So even though he touched the sprite of the fire, he did not touch the hitbox and didn't take damage there. So a little bit of a struggle there in 5-4 for Mars, but he made it through clean without losing his power-up. Mammaru also taking a little safe and going down there. So both of these runners a little untidy through 5-4, and that'll pretty much keep things level between the two as well. Mars powers through 6-1 with no problem. 6-1 is kind of like 4-1. And 4-1 is a level where you just run through, and 6-1 is just another level where you run through. Don't worry about Lakitu, his spinies aren't going to hurt you, so no problem there for Mars, and Mars in the same level. Mars is now in 6-2. This is a really technical level. If you are new to SMB1 Warpless speedruns, this is probably the hardest level, but once you really get good at Warpless, this becomes most runners' favorite level. It's just a nice technical level where you have to shoot these piranha plants out of the way. And then Mars doing a nice jump over that bouncing Paracupa at the end. And that also helped him slow down because if he would have gotten a 343 on the timer, that 3 in the ones digit would have given him those 3 fireworks, which would have cost him a second and a half. So that little slowdown was a small slowdown to go faster. So sometimes you got to go slower to go faster. 6-3 for Mars, more random bullet bills, and a nice duck on bullet bill there for Mars, and that will also function as his slowdown. You could get a 256 in 6-3, which would give you 6 fireworks, and that would cost you 3 seconds. So another level where going slower helps you go faster. As Mammaru cleaned through 6-2, now it's his turn to try to avoid any bad bills in 6-3. Mars into 6-4. You do this slowdown here to set up these fire bars for this tunnel section, and that way you don't have to slow down in the tunnel section. So good safe strategy there from Mars, and now he's on to the fire kill and Bowser. This is the first level where Bowser throws hammers, and no problem for Mars. He does this traditional jump into the platform fire kill on Bowser, and he didn't get too much lag. 6-4 and 7-4 are interesting because when you have all of those hammers on screen, you got the Potaboo, you got Mario, you got Mario's fireballs, and you got Bowser, it can overload the game, and it takes the game a few extra frames to process what's going on, and that will lose you a few frames of lag. But Mars actually got a pattern where the way he killed Bowser didn't give him much lag at all. We see Mammaru, same thing, another nice pattern. He got a touch more lag than Mars, but not a lot at all, and both runners with a really clean 6-4. Now, Mammaru in the World 7, still about a level behind still about a level behind Mars, as both of these runners, of course, beginning with MA, it gets a little bit confusing sometimes. And Mars in the 7-2, this is a repeat of 2-2 in terms of the layout, except there's going to be more bloopers, more cheeps, and more opportunities for getting caught in a bottleneck here. So Mars coming to the first bottleneck. Thankfully, it was pretty wide open. A little tight section there with the bloopers. They threw a tricky pattern, but no issue yet for Mars in 7-2. Coming to the next bottleneck, pretty clean there, so the enemies were nice. And then, of course, at the end of 7-2, there's the infamous bad blooper. We'll see if Mars gets the bad blooper. Nope, no bad blooper. Very nice for Mars, a 315. Optimal would be 316 into that pipe, so probably only loses one frame rule, or 0.35 seconds from the optimal, as mammaru following closely behind. We'll see if he gets the bad blooper. He had to do a little bit of a slowdown there, and also a little slowdown as he got a pattern that maybe wasn't the most comfortable to deal with there. But the main thing is keeping your fire flower, because we're coming up to World 8, and Mars with wow, what a reaction there. He had a bad cheap, he slowed down, and then he decided to speed up and fire kill the cheap in midair. Really good reactions from Mars there. So he is going to lose some time in 7-3, but it's only going to be a frame rule or two. So he's only going to lose 0.35, maybe 0.7, depending how the frame rules work out from what would be optimal. But at this point, the most important thing for Mars is keeping that fire flower. Keep going on, because you do not want to be playing World 8 without your fire flower. That's going to cost you more time, most likely. So much more appropriate to slow down and lose 0.35 or 0.7 seconds. And keep the fire flower than to lose a lot more time in World 8 without fire. So wise decision by Mars. 7-4, another maze level. These runners, of course, know the maze, so it's just a matter of executing the jumps to get through the maze without resetting the maze. Mars perfectly through 7-4, and now he has Fire Flower in 8-1, and that's going to be fantastic for him, because this will make World 8, especially 8-1, really comfortable for him. And mammaru taking a death on the early platforms in 7-4. Not what you want to have happen there, of course, but fortunately for mammaru, the death was right at the beginning of the level, so it cost him minimal time. But the problem is, now he can't power up again until 8-2. And the other problem, of course, is just the time loss. It wasn't a maximum amount of time loss like dying at the end of a level, but it's still a time loss, and one he really cannot afford, as he was already behind. And now he has to wait on Bowser and doesn't get to do a fire kill on Bowser. He has to touch the axe, and this is, again, where you see bridge collapse, Bowser fall in the lava. That wastes a little bit of time just from that animation. So mammaru really behind the 8-ball right now, as Mars, with a really nice run, his only power-up loss was in 3-4, but he quickly regained power-up and has had a clean run otherwise into 8-2. Hopefully no commentator's curse. We want to see the clean run, and mammaru takes a death to the piranha plant in 8-1. Now he has 1 life left. We'll see if he does an intentional game over here. He's choosing not to, so he might be aware of where he is and how far behind he is, and just going to power on through with small Mario here. So Mars, meanwhile, takes a hit to the Koopa at the end of 8-2. That could present a little bit of problem, because if you take a death in 8-3 or take a death in 8-4, or, especially if they start to compound and you get extra deaths on top of each other, this could open up the door slightly for mammaru. But right now, 8-3, we're going to have to see what Mars does. Does he get any bad hammer bros? Does he go for the power-up? He is going to go for the power-up here. So waits to kill the hammer bros, grabs this mushroom here, and now he will be on his way through 8-3 into the Hammer Brother Gauntlet. So, he takes a bonk there. He's going to have to wait, and waits, jumps over that piranha plant, and now he's in the Hammer Bro Gauntlet. This is a scary part where if the bro jumps, you just let go of A. Oh no, and he takes another hit to the Hammer Bro there, but he is through the level, which is the most important thing. 8-4 is relatively comfortable. There can be some things that can give you problems. A bad cheap in the turnaround room, maybe missing the wall jump and having to deal with those bouncing Koopas, a low Potaboo, a bad Bowser pattern. There are things that can still trip up even the best runners in 8-4. So not over yet, but certainly Mars in a comfortable position with a more than 1 level lead on mammaru, and he does get the wall jump. So first tricky item out of the way. He's into the turnaround room. If he gets a bad cheap, this could give him a death, and he avoids the cheap. Nicely done. A good early jump to avoid taking a hit to that cheap, which would have cost him a life and cost him, I would say, a chance at this really nice time here. So he's going into the final room, 1933 on the timer. It's about a 10-second room, give or take a little bit. He waits on the Potaboo. He's going to wait on Bowser. And Bowser gets out of the way. Mars with a 1941. Very nice time for Mars there, 1941, and he will advance to face Goofy Chocobo, our 5 seed, and Mars has made it to the final 6 runners of the tournament. If you think about this, the 22 seed Mars02 is now in the final 6, so based off of where he was pre-tournament in terms of his seeding, his ranking, this is an incredible result for Mars, and now he gets to face his good friend Goofy Chocobo. These two, Mars is always hanging out in Goofy's stream, so I'm really looking forward to the matchup between those two. Mammaru, meanwhile, into the 8-4 water section. He's thankfully hasn't lost his last life here. If he did, it would game over. Actually, he got a new life there with some more coins. So Mammaru trying to finish up going through this water section here and into the final room, and he will close out his tournament waiting on the Podoboo. And let's see if Bowser gives him a nice pattern. Nope. Bowser giving him a similar pattern they gave Mars and to 2043, something like that. So get your GGs out for Mammaru, get your GGs out for Mars. A really nice tournament for both. We're going to try to see, look, we got Mars in here for an interview. Mars, congratulations on your victory. A really clean run for you for the most part. Obviously, you took a little hit in 3-4, but quickly recovered, and then that hit at the end of 8-2, which caused you have to get the power up in 8-3. But other than that, a really clean run, and you're into the final 6. Congratulations. How do you feel about your performance today?
I could have done a lot better than that. I've gotten like 19-20, but yeah,
well, you recovered nicely, powered on, and took the win over Mammaru. So looking ahead, you get to face a Goofy Chocobo. I bet you're looking forward to that matchup.
Yes, yeah. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, definitely. So you've really been improving your Warpless time. You recently got a 1909. Goofy has a 1907, so that's going to be a very close race. Just any thoughts on that matchup between you and Goofy?
I bet it's going to be pretty close. And if I can pull up a good game, then I think we can make a really close match.
Definitely. I think it's going to be a very close match. So as I mentioned, we are down to the final 6. When we announced this tournament a couple months ago, you were the 22 seed. Your PB was somewhere in the mid to high 19 time range, and now you brought it all the way down to a 1909, and you're in the final 6. When this tournament was announced 2 months ago, did you even expect to be in the final 6 at this point?
No. I didn't expect to make this far.
Well, you have, and I think that's a testament to your hard work. Looking ahead, like I said, you've got Goofy Chocobo. The bottom half of the bracket there in the second chance bracket is Supersonic versus ZZZ. And then the other 2 remaining players are Cosmic and LK. So just thoughts on the other 4 runners in the bracket as well, besides yourself and Goofy Chocobo. What are you looking for from those 4 runners?
I'm expecting they're all really good runners. They've got really good times. They're all gonna get good times in their races. Finals.
Most definitely. So I think looking ahead, it looks like at the schedule, we don't have anything scheduled yet. I know Supersonic and ZZZ are trying to coordinate their match. They have not scheduled that, and I'm sure Mars and Goofy will be in touch about coordinating their match. So right now, nothing ahead on the SMB1 schedule. As far as speed gaming, make sure to check out all the different speed gaming channels. There's so much going on the various speed gaming channels. So once again, a 1941 for Mars, around a 24 for Mammaru, based on hit the axe on his timer. Any last words, Mars, here on your race before we wrap this one up?
I'll say GG's to Mammaru, and I had a lot of fun with this run.
All right, and that is going to do it for this edition of the SMB1 Warpless Tournament. We're down to the final 6. Make sure you don't miss any of these races because they're all going to be fantastic. We've got Mars02 moving on to round 7 of the second chance bracket to face Goofy Chocobo. We've got Supersonic versus ZZZ. We've got LK awaiting the winners of those matches. And then we've got Cosmic awaiting the winner of all of those 5 remaining runners for the grand final. So we're coming down to the wire, folks. Thanks for tuning in for this fantastic race between Mars and Mammaru. We'll catch you on another edition of the SMB1 Warpless Tournament at another time. Have a great day, everyone.